Welcome to the Discovering Leadership podcast. My name's Corbin Hannis. As usual, I'm joined by my co-host Carl Bowden from Exemplify Leadership. Carl, you want to tell us what we're doing today?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about integrity. So, this is one of the fundamentals of leadership. Before we go into today's topic, we're going to be talking about, how do we build the foundations of leadership within us? Within the Discovering Leadership podcast, as our listeners, we want you to start instilling these values in yourself. Maybe you want to understand how to craft your strategy in your business or maybe your personal life. We also want you to be around a community of leaders. We want to ultimately lead leaders, helping leaders to live by example, making a positive example in their communities. So, for today's topic on integrity, we're talking about aligning our words with our actions, fighting for what we believe in. What gives us that spark, that flame inside of us to where we want to fight for something that matters, something that's going to make a difference? And then how do we live that example day to day? Every single day, are we aligning our words with our actions and being consistent in those actions?
So you started off with talking about aligning our words with our actions.
Yeah.
Carl, to me, that sounds like integrity is really just being our true selves and everything wholly and authentically ourselves. Do you have a good example of, say, when you really started to realize who yourself is and what your integrity means?
Yeah, so it was actually about a couple years ago when I was beginning to make kind of a career change. I didn't know exactly what was the next step I was going to take.
Yeah.
Now, I spent like 5 or 6 years in conservation. I was doing a lot of outdoor work, but I had this huge passion for leadership. And I always talked about leadership with others. And every time like someone would like think of me, they would think, "Oh, Carl, he loves leadership."
Yeah.
But I went back into my life and yeah, I had some positions that I took in college and in the community back home in Salina, Kansas, when I was working in Salina for the Land Institute. But I didn't feel like I was truly leading based off of that inner passion of leadership within me.
Yeah.
Now, I I decided, I might need to make a different career transition. So I was certified with the John Maxwell team at the time to coach, train, and speak about leadership with others. But I didn't feel like I was putting that to use. So I had all the tools, the resources in place, but I needed to take action on that. So I called a bunch of coaches, executives in Kansas, all over the nation, really, and got their opinion. Like, what do I need to do to start living this passion?
Yeah.
And it came down to being a leadership coach and consultant and really starting my own business. And when starting your own business, I know you can testify to this too. You're living 100% yourself. I mean, oftentimes your business is a reflection of yourself. So when I can live to who I truly am and exemplify that every single day and not have to worry about just, something I'm not truly engaged in, that's when I can really make a difference. Not only in my life, but in the lives of others.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. It sounds like whenever you were going through this transitory period in your career and in your life, you were also starting to figure out, as you were saying, what integrity means to you, what your true authentic self is, and figuring out how to live that truth. So what are some of, say, the benefits or say the results of figuring out, say, that what that integrity is and going through and living this true self?
Yeah. So when you are living your true self, you don't need to worry about any lies or inconsistencies. The truth is the truth. So
Mhm.
we might as well just start with the truth. We're saving time. We're not wasting our time living a lie. When we start with the truth, we're getting straight to the point.
Yeah.
So it gives us free of mind. We don't have to worry about constantly living a lie. So this can, reduce our stress, and it gives us a sense of understanding of truly knowing who we are. It sets our priorities straight as well.
So I got a question for you. Can you talk about fighting for what you believe in? Because one thing that this is making me think of is, as usual, I'm horrible with remembering who tells me these quotes, but I remember a quote saying, "If you're not at war with yourself, then you're at war with the world, and vice versa." So it sounds like you're figuring out exactly who you are. You're living your truth. You're living with integrity, but that really helps you become a lot more true to yourself and therefore not being at war with yourself. At least I sure hope. Um, it would probably stir up some controversy with the world potentially and stir up a little bit of problems outside of yourself, and you'll have to wrestle with something else. Can you talk about fighting for what you believe in?
Yeah. So, when you're talking about like being at war with yourself, in a way, that can be bad if we are living a lie. But when we fight a war with ourselves, it also makes me think of just asking ourselves the difficult questions.
Mm,
Now, when we ask ourselves the difficult questions, it gives us the opportunity to see the good and the bad sides of who we truly are
yeah,
and accepting that. Now, the questions that we ask gives us a more clear understanding of living to our integrity, aligning our words with our actions. And we can't truly know ourselves or live to integrity until we start asking those questions. So, when we talk about fighting for what we believe in,
yeah,
first it starts with the question: what do we believe? What are those deep held beliefs? And then what actions can we take to start making change?
yeah,
We have a lot of people in this world that have so many different opinions about certain things. But an opinion doesn't really create the change.
no,
It's in our minds, our thoughts. But when we can make that become reality through action, that's when things start to change. So,
yeah.
so if we want to see change, we have to take our opinions, our thoughts, our beliefs, and transfer that into action.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So it's essentially what I'm hearing is that if you know what you believe and you wholeheartedly believe that, you know what living with integrity is going to look like for you, you're not going to actually be living with integrity until you actually start living that truth, until you start going out and acting as if that truth is your truth.
Yeah, there's a few examples that come to mind. One is like recycling.
Yeah,
We can say we recycle, but if we don't like actually recycle and take the action, um, do we really believe it? So when we talk about conservation, I love talking about conservation, but like reduce, reuse, recycle. I think the most important thing in that is reduce, though,
yeah,
reducing our consumption. And that is really the whole problem with conservation and the world today. It kind of goes to like human selfishness and greed.
oh yeah,
And when we don't focus on ourselves and instead focus on others
hmm,
and giving other people the resources to provide for themselves and not living in an excess, that's when we can make change. So, we need to constantly practice what we preach. Now, in order to do this, We have to first act out. So when we're teaching someone a certain task, let's say for delegation, we have to first act it out, then teach it to whoever we're leading, and then delegate that task once they have kind of understood, and then give them ownership.
Yeah.
So if we give them ownership, that allows them to live with their own integrity,
Yeah.
their own truth.
In other words, what it sounds like to me, um, and how this was originally taught to me is whenever you're delegating, you have to show them, do it with them, and then allow them to do it on their own. If they don't see a good example done for them initially, then they don't know what's correct. If they don't have somebody walking them through it, and the first time they're running through the hoops and they're just messing up on their own, and they don't have somebody there telling them, "Hey, that was wrong. Don't forget, you gotta do it this way," or correcting their path the first time or 2 that they do something, then again, they're going to start building incorrect habits. Then, uh, like you were saying, it goes back to giving them their own ability to have integrity with how they do it. Give them that ownership. Allow them to do it on their own.
Yeah, it makes me think of either a boss or maybe a parent. And a parent might tell them what to do, like, hey, clean up your room.
Yeah.
But if their room isn't clean, they don't clean up their room and provide that example, it's really hard for people to
Oh, yeah.
follow all that.
I mean, it's living by example, and in that case, it reminds me the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, you know? Like, if you're a boss or a manager or even a parent, and you're trying to say, delegate to one of your employees, delegate to a team member, or have your kid do something, you gotta be an example for them. They're only going to do what they see.
Yeah,
Um,
that's huge.
walk it through with them, help them out, and make sure that they learn correctly. Uh, they're only going to learn correctly if they have s somebody correct teaching them something. If you're telling them one thing and then doing something entirely different, they're gonna do exactly as you do.
Yeah, we ultimately have to commit to what we said we were going to do.
Mhm.
Give that example to others so they can start following in your path to help make positive change. So, when we're talking about living an example, it's really establishing mutual respect with others and respecting each other's time and relationships that we have with others is as well.
Yeah.
Now, when we're talking about integrity, yes, we need to follow our words with our actions, but it's not just one time. It has to be consistent. We have to continually follow through with this. So, when we're consistent, we're being someone that others can count on. That ultimately gives trust to others. So, when we talk about living the example, we're talking about establishing mutual respect with others. That means we're valuing their time, their relationships, everything that they try to focus on in their business and their personal life uh, to succeed. Now, when we value that, when we value them as people, they're going to be more likely to contribute to our business
Oh,
or
yeah.
to contribute to who we are and what we want to become as well. So, having integrity, we have to be consistent. So, when we are consistent, we are being someone that others can count on. So, integrity has to be repeated. We can't just align our words and our actions in one instance, but is that continually being displayed to whoever we are leading?
Oh, yeah. No, That that makes a lot of sense, and I think that should translate well for a lot of people. Just simply be consistent. If you're going to be there once and then the second time you're not gonna show up, but the third time you wanna show up, the fourth time you do show up, maybe the fifth time you don't show up, who's gonna trust you? If you're only there every once in a while, say you only pick and choose when you wanna be a servant leader for somebody else, and you wanna pick and choose when you're going to act with integrity, then you're not really acting with integrity, and nobody's going to actually truly trust you. Nobody's going to see that integrity in you, and a lot of people are gonna skip right over the value that you can provide for them. They're not gonna care if that value isn't consistent. I mean, think about when is Walmart open?
Like all the time.
Yeah, if you walk up to a Walmart and it's not open, that's gonna raise red flags in your head, right?
Yeah.
If you try to shop on Amazon and you can't for whatever reason, that's gonna raise red flags in your head. These are, say, business examples of something like that, but they have to be consistent too. A business has to be consistent for its customers, otherwise, what's gonna happen? Those customers aren't going to trust the business and they're not going to get repeat sales. The business isn't going to keep its client base and they're eventually going to go out of business.
That's true.
If you don't want people to trust you, don't act with integrity and don't be consistent.
Yeah. That is a very blunt way of putting it, but it's so true because if we are consistent, people are going to continually come back and use our services or buy our products and uh, just enjoy everything that we have to offer for our business.
Oh, yeah.
So, in order to improve our sales, that consistency is so key in establishing trust. There's this quote by C.S. Lewis. It states that integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. So, in everything that we do, we have to be authentic, living to our integrity, whether we are around people or whether we are alone.
And it doesn't matter who you're around either. If you're one person in front of one group of people, but you're an entirely different person in front of a different group of people, then you're still not being integral or acting with integrity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like whoever you are, to me, the way I always put it, and I probably mentioned this on the podcast, but I've gone through like a couple years of therapy before, and I remember at one point in my therapeutic journey, we'll call it, um, I I was talking to my therapist about how I was acting around my girlfriend and saying, "I really like this girl because the way I act in front of her is the same way I act alone." Like, previous girlfriends I had in high school, I wasn't really like that. I was trying to show up and always, outperform myself or others around them, just be kind of pretentious, but, then it got to the point where it was like, "Oh, well, this girl actually likes me for who I am. I could just be myself around her, just like I am around my family and my friends." It's like, "Why not?" And then our relationship evolved to something completely different. Now, I've started to realize since then, "Oh, uh, I gotta be that way around everybody." It's like, it's not just my family, it's not just my friends, it's not just my girlfriend, it's everybody, no matter whether it's a work relationship or not, I still have to be myself. That doesn't mean people at work have to see the things that I do at home by myself, which they shouldn't, but nonetheless, I still have to be the same person. I still have to be Corbin, and I have to live with my values and act with integrity around all of these people and stay consistent. Again, if you're an entirely different person in front of one group of people than you are in front of another, then what happens when those 2 groups of people meet? Or what happens when they start to blend? Where are you? Who are you really?
It's huge. And when we talk about other people in our lives, We want to be around people that help us live to who we truly are, help us live to our integrity, to where we don't have to put up any kind of front with anything. And same thing with our business. If we want to live to who we truly authentically are, we have to surround ourselves with the type of environment, the type of people that are going to allow us to do that. There's a there's a woman that I was really good friends with recently, and this is kind of a sad story, but she had passed away not too long ago. And one thing that I learned from her is that she helped me live to who I truly was, to who I enjoyed being. And an example of this is one time we were going just on a car ride, and I asked her, like, what type of music you want to listen to. She was a really big fan of Paramore, punk rock
Yeah.
band in the early 2000s, and I love Paramore too, and just anything involving punk rock during that time. So like Blink 182, Fall Out Boy, Green Day, um, Ocean well Ocean Avenue. Who's the band? Yellow Card. Um,
Yeah.
anyways, like we listened to that station, and immediately she just started singing, and she sang the entire ride to where we were going and when we came back. So it was like 40 minutes of constant singing, but I was singing right along with her. But she allowed me to live to who I truly authentically was too, because secretly I would sing by myself in the car as well, but I was too scared to do it like around other people. But her first, like, extending that trust and providing that example to living who she truly was, that allowed me to be myself.
Do
And
the exact same thing.
yeah, and I thought that was just a really awesome moment. And
Yeah.
I think it definitely displays integrity and authenticity as well. Uh, we need people like that in our lives. We can learn from so many different people, but we just have to pay attention
Yeah.
and be with the people that matter to us, that are going to help make a difference in who we are and growing in ourselves and our business.
That's definitely true. Well, I think that's a great point to wrap up on. And do you want to talk about our next episode before we get on out of here?
Yeah, so we're going to continue this series, The Fundamentals of Leadership, with communication. How can we effectively communicate and build common ground, connect with others to help grow our business, to help really get our message across in whatever we may be communicating. Now, this is just a reminder that you guys can catch all these episodes every other Tuesday, either on Spotify, Google, or Apple Podcasts.
And don't forget to go to Enturian.com. That's Enturian.com. And don't forget to also check out exemplifyleadership.com. If you want to stay updated with the podcast, we're posting updates on all of our social media accounts across the board to make sure that you can stay updated. Also, don't forget you can look at the Enturian YouTube channel to watch the video version of this podcast. That's one more time, Enturian.com, Enturian.com. Last but not least,
Alone we survive, but
together
together we
we thrive.
thrive.
See you on the next episode.